Masculinity, it's a word loaded with meaning, expectation, and even controversy. Some say it's under attack, while others argue it's evolving, and many feel lost in the debate. Today, we strip away the noise and get real about what it means to be a man in 2025. Are men truly in crisis, or are we just rewriting the rules? Let's get into it today on Off the Couch. And welcome to Off the Couch with DrGreg, where psychology meets everyday life. I'm DrGreg, Caisson psychologist, and I'm here with producer Brian Gomez.
Happy Monday, you guys.
And we have on the board Kyle. Hi, Kyle.
How's it going, Dr. Greg and Brian?
Kyle, I'm going to ask you to participate in this discussion. We are three dudes in a room, and we're going to be talking about masculinity.
Awesome. Let's do it.
So what does it mean to be masculine? Brian, what does it mean?
I don't know. I don't really have
Give
an
us your
issue with
definition.
this. I don't really look at it as like a thing to be masculine because I feel like I flow whatever way I want to in that sense.
So what if somebody asked you, what does it mean? What does it mean?
Oh, So in my eyes, like 6 feet, 6 feet or above.
Oh,
you're already, yeah. The height for me.
You mean I should have gotten the height stretching article that I read also this weekend?
If there's one, I mean.
Yes, there is. We can do that another time. People are,
because they're
having their legs extended.
Is it their knees, like in the knee
area? Not from the knee, but from the shins, I think they're getting, or their femur and something. I don't know what's going on down there. I read the article and I was horrified. I felt so bad for these guys. And the operations are $100,000, and the recovery sounds excruciating, but it sounded like almost all of these people are generally satisfied because they get more height. So
yeah,
I'm like,
thing.
It is a big thing.
I feel like for men, it's a big confidence killer right there.
So, you just defined masculinity as 6 feet. So I have to say,
hey, I'm 6 foot.
Hey, we all are 6 foot or taller in here. So, I mean, I don't know what to say. Like,
but that's
we
just like
can't
my
talk.
taste in that sense, in my eyes, that's what I'm like, oh yeah.
Okay.
I'm not a big short guy kind of person.
So you're like Randy Newman, who's saying short people got no reason to live.
What's your max height?
Max height?
Yeah, like.
Well,
when does height become a freak?
Yeah.
I dated this guy that was 6'7", and it wasn't an issue. It was nice.
Right on. What is your max? What do you think kind of throws you off a little bit there, Kyle?
About what?
About height. As long as you ask the question, I'm just throwing it back at you.
I don't have a problem with height.
I don't either. But I will say I feel bad sometimes for people who are very tall because I'm 6'2" and I bang my head and have trouble on airline flights and all kinds of things. I think people are 6'5", 6'6", 6'7".
I feel like I'm at the perfect height.
Yeah,
6 foot even.
Yeah, you're tall, but you're not like into the bang your head region.
Yeah. I can still reach for the cookie jar, but not bang my head.
So yeah, I often feel bad. I bet now society's getting much taller, so it seems like a lot of people, they're going to have to make those airline seats more comfortable at some point. Either that, or everyone tall is going to have to make a gob of money so they can sit in first class. But let's go back to this. So
what would you consider?
What would I consider? Well, I was supposed to answer last, but what about you, Kyle? What do you consider masculine?
I consider my definition of being masculine is totally different than like the quota of being masculine. I'd say for me, being masculine is kind of showing more of your feminine side a little bit. In the relationship.
I love this.
Yes. Being vulnerable. Me and my girlfriend of 2 years. I'm not afraid to kind of show the feminine side of myself. Be vulnerable and like. Even sometimes let her take charge. I feel like there's a beautiful thing.
Dude, you are the man.
She's a lucky girl. She got a good one, I would say.
So I completely agree with this. I think that being masculine is really owning who you are. It's really being one with yourself, not trying to be something that's not yourself, not trying to be different. And that means you own your vulnerability. That is exactly right. It means you own your moments of weakness, if you will, because I think a lot of people mix masculinity with strength and make it sort of monolithic. But I do believe it shows strength to show vulnerability, because weak people, they're the ones who can't apologize.
Well, they're scared to show their real selves in that sense.
They are. They don't want to show that
they're
they're
scared to be them.
So
they have to fit this quota, this stereotype.
So, yeah. So, I mean, gosh, I have to say, I'm in agreement. So I saw this article in the New York Times, February 27th. It was an opinion article written by some political scientists. And the title of the article was "Republican Men and Women Are Changing Their Minds About How Women Should Behave." So you think it's a women behave article, but it's really about masculinity. When you get down to the article, the title throws you off a little bit there. But I was like, this is a political thing? I mean, I hear people like J.D. Vance and that senator from Ohio who's really tall and skinny and has a low voice but runs from, every little crack in the ceiling. Whatever that guy's name is. Anyway, they're really into talking about masculinity, and we have to be more masculine. I mean, what's his name from Facebook? Who's that guy that owns Facebook? Zuckerberg. He's like talking about men and masculinity, and I'm like, dude,
They're very obsessed with men.
They're very obsessed with it.
That's kind of weird.
Which doesn't seem very masculine.
No, it's like you're just talking about men and how they should behave. It's like, bro, the money in the fucking world is what's happening.
I'm shocked by it, because when we go around telling other people how to behave, that doesn't seem masculine to me at all. Owning how you behave and being comfortable with other people seems more masculine. Yeah. You feel strength. You don't feel threatened by other people.
I feel like being mad, you got to listen sometimes, instead of being the one that's speaking. I feel like listening asserts power in a sense.
Very good. We'll have to talk there, Kyle. Well, we'll have you talking the rest we go. So let me go through this article. Trad wives. I had to look this up. I mean, I knew, but it's so dumb to me. Like, why is this a thing? Like, if I've always had the opinion, I grew up with a single mom. So trad wife is a traditional wife. They stay at home. They do homemaking. They don't work. The husband does the work, brings home the bacon, and she fries it up in the pan. That's the whole thing. But no more eggs because they're too expensive.
Well, it's the girl that I told you, that I showed you, that whispers and has like this soothing voice. That's her.
So trad wives and conservative influencers are promoting domestic roles for women, like your whisper lady. Yep. Which I found just so amusing. What?
No, she just got like a deal with Erewhon. She has her own smoothie now.
She has her own smoothie. She does all of her. I wish I could play it now. She does all of her. She has cooking, and you can watch her cook. And here she is. I'm gonna make cookies today, and I'm gonna put flour.
It's all homemade too. And she wears like the most beautiful gowns and
has great lighting and everything. Yep, I'm like, there's a crew here. Anyway, they're all into this domestic roles for women, which is kind of interesting. I mean, if you want to do it, great. I grew up with a single mom, and she would have loved to have stayed home, but she had to go out and work. She had to work 2 jobs to, make us, to feed us. And I, frankly, as a kid, didn't mind. I was part of the latchkey generation. We came home, we kind of looked after ourselves and sat there and waited for our parents to come home, or called friends, or went to play with friends, whatever we did. We were just fine. But and I often knew parents who stayed home and made lunch. I thought, lucky them.
Same. That's what I thought. I'm like, dang, I want a full meal.
I was really envious of kids who got sack lunches, because I always had to have a what do they call the lunch pail?
Oh, yeah, the metal.
Yeah, the metal lunch pail. And I had to carry that all around. It was so heavy, and I hated carrying it home.
I don't know if they have those around anymore.
I know. So, did your mom care for you? Did she make sandwiches for you?
Oh, all the time. My dad also. It was kind of like a team effort. But more of my mom. You know, I'm a big PB&J guy, so.
I mean, PB&J, you can't go wrong. Let's just face it. Okay, so there's a shift in attitudes. These political researchers were pointing out there's a shift in gender attitudes. Survey data from 2024 shows an increasing support for traditional roles. That's fine, but these are primarily in Republican men and women shifting toward conservative views on gender roles. In fact, if you're watching the video, we have a graph. Thank you. Boy, I'm losing all my words today. As of November 2024, almost half of Republicans agree that women should return to more traditional roles. 48% of Republican men believe that, and 37% of Republican women believe it, which is interesting to me because that does not reflect most working people in society. Most people are working. So if they have enough money to support, you know, if a man has enough money to support a woman in a home, that's great. By the way, it was around 17% for Democrats, like had that belief that women should. And that to me was the operative word, should. It's almost saying that when we say women should take on more traditional roles, it's saying that they're wrong if they don't. It's making a rule for them. I think it's great if you say, is that an option for women? Great. It could be an option for men too.
I would take that option.
I'm not sure I would. But yeah, it's just so interesting to me. So it's a political trend rather than a gender-driven trend because we see men and women who say they're Democrat at around 17%. And it's much lower. Let me go into this. Actually, in 2020, this is a really new phenomenon, too, because Republican men in 2022, only about a third of them, or 28%, endorsed that belief that women should return to traditional roles, and 48%, or about half. So it went from about a third to about half of Republican men in just 2 years. That's a big jump. Republican women went from 23%, or about one quarter, to 37%, which is a little more than a third. So they also saw a jump in just 2 years of this from this electoral survey that was taken. This is from the Public Religion Research Institute. And they had a question also that said, society is too soft and feminine. Republican men, 79% believe it, and Republican women believe 67%. So, like, they don't like our soft feminine. Can someone please tell me what's soft and feminine about the 405 at rush hour? I mean, I don't know. What is soft? What is making our society soft and feminine?
Well, my whole thing is like, why aren't men out here building houses and hunting like they used to, or going off to war if they want to be so tough and, you know?
Oh,
yeah, I'd say a lot of my generation's kind of like staying in. They're trying to, you know, chase the dream of, you know, being a YouTuber, you know, kind of straying away from the more traditional roles of like being a carpenter or, you know, like a house painter and whatnot. I feel like those are kind of coming, like being more like extinct nowadays. I feel like those.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not going into what we may consider more traditional masculine roles, like becoming a plumber.
And I feel like that stuff is really important.
It is
extremely important.
We
all need to poop.
As a person that was a carpenter for a little bit.
Oh, you were?
Yes, and a house painter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You're the man.
Very important stuff.
So, sorry, ladies, he's taken. I mean, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, no, I'm not taking applications right now.
But it kind of shocks me, too, to make your point, Brian, about going to war. It's interesting that our current leader in charge, shall we say,
who has not served,
who not only hasn't served, but had multiple deferments for a made-up medical issue. I mean, that is wild.
That's got to be like the most like girliest thing.
And says negative things about veterans, especially veterans who were caught and who were captured, who are like the most heroic. So, you know, but is now apparently they're planning to take away 70,000 jobs from the Veterans Administration.
I saw 80,000.
Oh, was it 80?
Yeah.
Oh. But I mean, it's a large number, and that I worked for the VA, and let me tell you, they operate on a shoestring. I can't even imagine where those cuts are coming from.
Well, that's my whole thing. Like, if Republicans want to be so manly and masculine, why aren't they enlisting? Why aren't they going off to fight the war themselves instead of trolling and going after people that, you know, have no fighting chance?
Great point, because they want to sit in their bedroom and do a YouTube video about it. That's it. I think we've solved the issue. That's it.
A draft would help.
Oh, Brian, my God.
Oh, I'm big on like, you guys want to be masculine?
You don't know, Kyle. He served. So
I was in the Army.
He's unsympathetic.
So I'm like, hey, you guys want to be tough? There's an enlistment.
You know, realize that I was alive at the end of the draft for Vietnam. So, I mean, Vietnam was scary. We used to watch people coming home every day on the plane in body bags.
And that's real patriotism, I would say.
Yeah. Wish we had Noah in here. He's in the reserves. So.
Oh, Noah's in the reserve?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Cool for him. Yeah. So, explanations in the shift. Media and political leaders influence opinions, of course. And I'm going to talk a little bit about one guy. I saw his story that I thought was really intriguing. Republicans feel more comfortable expressing traditional views, and gender roles remain a dividing issue between Democrats and Republicans. I didn't know it was a dividing issue, because I see men and women as different, but I don't have problems with gender. I don't have problems with someone like expressing different gender norms. What I do have problems with, I may not be attracted to them. I may not find their form of dress very attractive, or I don't know. Yeah, but that's just how it is. I mean, I don't know. But
everybody has their own cup of tea.
Everyone has their own cup of tea, and if they can be that way, they can be whatever way they want. One of my favorite people, by the way, and she's passed away now, but people thought it was so odd because I was like in my 20s. I was in graduate school, late 20s, and I worked in Houston, and I worked at a counseling center. It was a large community counseling center. We were in a very impoverished area. Large community counseling center, and my office was right next to this woman who, and I was in my mid-20s. She was in her late 50s. She was a pretty, very masculine lesbian woman. She would, I could say with the word she used to describe herself, she goes, "I'm a dyke," like she was tough. She was one of my favorite people in the entire world. I loved being around her, and she and I would go to lunch almost every day. And the staff was so enthralled with this, like, what do you two have in common? I'm like, we have so much in common. We have so much in common. One, sexual orientation, but we just see the world in such familiar ways, such interesting ways. And I loved being around her, and I loved learning from her. She was a Texan. the Texas ladies. Strong women in Texas. Yes, that's right. Hook 'em horns. Anyway, I think, but I wouldn't consider her someone I was attracted to, even if I were, who knows?
You never know.
You never know. Okay. Never say never. So real world impact. Despite these views, labor force participation among women is at an all-time high. So, I mean, although we can talk about women needing to be traditional, I mean, women are out there working and making a difference. Women right now are working more than men. Women are taking up a lot of the slack that men who want to stay home, I guess, and make YouTube videos. Good for them. But they're taking up a lot of the slack. They're out there doing the work.
It's cool. Like at the dog park, I've seen two dads now. One's got like a more newborn kind of baby that he always has strapped into him, and it's cool to see him in the mornings with the dog and the baby, knowing that his wife is at home or either working. I'm like, that's cool. Like I would find that attractive. A guy with a baby is always like a chick magnet. I feel like women see that and they're like, wow, like he can take care of the baby alone. That's real strength.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I like seeing a guy, doing.
Yeah, because marriage and childbirth rates are continuing to decline. So this is somebody who, If he isn't married, at least he's produced a child and is caring for it. We don't really know his what he's doing. Household roles remain dynamic. Men are contributing more to domestic work. It's not just your dad, Kyle. But I mean, it's kind of cool to see. I think it's good to see. Gender and parenting, 76% support encouraging girls to play with traditionally boy toys and engage in male-associated activities. I mean, this was true for me.
Well, for me, I never thought it was a thing, but like my mom used to buy me Barbies all the time when I was a kid.
You were so lucky, Brian.
Yeah. And I grew up like
Are
that
you
being
serious?
normal. Yeah.
Well,
I loved it. But I thought it was normal. Like growing up, I thought that was just like a normal thing.
I had G.I. Joe with Kung Fu grip. It's true.
I had WWE wrestlers.
Oh, well, we had Stretch Armstrong.
Yes,
My brother had
yeah.
that one.
Stretch
You'd
Armstrong.
stretch it. That one was
about
cool, let's face it. Stretch Armstrong. But that's all you did. You stretched it
stretch
and,
it,
and then it was over. 64% encourage boys to engage in traditionally 64% in support 64%, oh my goodness, support encouraging boys to engage in traditionally female activities. So things can get kind of mixy a little bit. Younger generations are more open to breaking traditional gender barriers. All right, young people.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of celebrities too that like if they have little boys, they'll let them dress in like dresses and stuff, and I think that's cool. Again, because I grew up with the Barbies and thinking that was normal, but I think it's beautiful to just let the kids be kids on whatever the day they want to be, whatever they want,
Can I confess
Yes.
that I wanted a toy when I was a kid that was a very female toy? Can I confess right now?
What was it?
It was an easy bake oven.
I wanted one of those too.
Why did you want one? I had a very specific reason.
Because my mom wouldn't let me cook with the regular oven.
I mean, and you wanted to
Little
eat.
bake, yeah.
Right. You wanted to make like cakes and
Yeah.
things.
And I saw it on commercial a lot, so.
I know. He's like, I want to make food. I want to eat. When you're a little boy, that was weird. Why didn't they make like an easy bake barbecue for kids, for boys?
Why does it need to be a boy one? Why can't it just be an easy bake oven?
So the parents will buy it.
It's like the same thing with like the same two lotions, and one says men and one's just a regular one, and then you're like, what the hell? Like,
Well, we had at our bathrooms in the office building where I am. We literally have private bathrooms, and one was men's and one was women's, and people would be standing there waiting for one of them. They'd be standing waiting for the women's to come open when the men's was open. It was just a toilet, and I would say to people, just go on in. Oh no, it's the men's. Or I go to like the men. Oh, it's the women's, and I'd be like, there are just two toilets. So finally, I said to the landlord, can we take the gender off, and just have them toilet one and toilet? So that's all it is now. And now there's no problem. I've never seen somebody waiting anymore because they don't need to.
the label's gone.
The label's gone. We feel so uncomfortable by labels, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Masculinity and social pressure. 86% say men face pressure to be emotionally strong. That may be. Do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I could
Yeah.
see as like society, that's what they would want from a guy, but like, that's not really that healthy. But again, society isn't that healthy either, so.
57% of men say they feel pressure to be willing to fight if provoked.
Well, I mean, I would also want like my partner, if something was to happen, to be able to swing. 'Cause I
Brian,
would swing.
you are always talking about wanting to fight
I
someone.
know, I am.
So, I don't know. You don't
guess
feel any pressure, basically.
Nope, I'm willing to take one for the team.
I think I'm on the same boat.
45% believe men feel pressure to participate in sexualized conversations about women.
Locker room.
Locker room talk. Locker room talk.
I find it cringe when I overhear, but then maybe it's the same if like somebody overhears me talking about gay sex or something, you know?
Yeah.
So
I mean, locker room talk. By the way, I've been in so many locker rooms and never ever once heard locker room talk.
Really?
Like
Neither. It's more of like outside the locker.
I guess so, because
I have.
I remember once being in a locker room and I was 100% naked. I had all my clothes off because I was changing. So I was changing and I was going to work. So I had to take a shower and, go. I think I had already taken the shower and I was toweling off and, about to put on my clothes. And two guys were talking about, and they were using a very derogatory term for gay men out there on the floor. And I was like, do I turn around and tell them that I'm one of them, but I'm naked? So I chose not to. And to this day, I kind of regret that a little bit. But then being naked would have kind of distracted from the argument. Or maybe not. Okay. Millennial men, that's you, Brian, aren't you millennial? Report facing more pressure to be aggressive and dominant. Oh my God. You're more of a Gen Z, aren't you?
I was 99.
What is it?
Oh my God.
What is 99? Is that Gen Z?
I think that is Gen Z. Yeah.
Or Gen...
It's Gen Z.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay, Gen Z.
Sure it's Gen Z.
Yeah.
So you think I don't have an issue with it. I'm already aggressive.
Okay. Democrats are more likely than Republicans to attribute gender differences to societal expectations. So that's interesting. They think society has something to do with it. Republicans are more likely to believe gender differences are biologically determined. I think it's really dumb either way. It goes both ways. It's nature and nurture. To me, there are biological differences, and you're born into a world that shaped you in a particular way. Why do men wear suits? I think that's weird. When you think about it, I've often thought, and I like wearing a suit. I like wearing a tie and everything. And I used to think, I want a job where I wear a suit every day. Who thinks that? That's weird. But I liked it. But at the same time, having a tie, what purpose does that serve? That serves zero purpose. Why would you need to button up your collar to your, that's like going back to the 1600s.
I want to be able to tell you, Dr. Greg, I'm more of a turtleneck person when I wear a suit. So.
Yeah, right on. I can roll.
But I always, with what we have down there, I would rather have a skirt or like a dress to
You want to be Scottish.
Well, yeah, because then if you think about it, we're wearing pants and if a woman's
things
wearing
get binding.
Pants,
yeah,
it would just make sense that the pants would fit them and we just wouldn't want anything holding us.
It is odd.
Tight or back.
It is odd, yes, that we don't have more comfort in that particular area. Those with lower levels of education see greater pressure for men to be financial providers. That's interesting, isn't it? And higher educated individuals see greater societal pressure on women to be attractive. I see that.
Dang,
I see that.
I feel like women do have to fight that part a lot.
No, and women who are high accomplishers still put a great deal of attention and focus on their appearance.
Yeah, because they've got a lot to battle climbing up those ladders, And if you're not attractive, it could be a lot harder because you already have the bias of, them being a woman already.
So there was this guy, I read this Esquire magazine article, and they had all these men, all these young men, in their 20s, talking about masculinity. Not that we don't also want to know about you, but this guy I thought had some interesting things to say, because his story was somewhat average. He was from San Mateo, California. He's 24 years old. He works as a paraeducator. I worked as I think a paraeducator is basically a teaching assistant. I worked as a teaching assistant in an elementary school, and he worked for third graders. He basically graduated, didn't know what he wanted to do, and his mother, who was a librarian, said, hey, why don't you get a job as a paraeducator? And because all you need is a college degree. And so he did. And I did the same thing, and I actually loved that job. I had it for a year, but he also points out it's not enough to live on, and it's not enough to pay your rent. because basically you just work a school day and you're paid an hourly wage. So it's not that great. It's like a part-time job. It'd be good for a parent who had a kid in that school. I think that would be about the only person who'd be great for. Anyway, he's currently living with his parents and he's exploring career options. So he doesn't really know what he wants to do with his life. So it brought to mind that men are gradually decreasing their participation in the labor force. This might parallel what you were just talking about, Kyle. In 2004, 92% of men, participated in the labor force. And in 2024, it went down to 88%. That's only a 4% drop. But when we talk unemployment, that's a big percent. You don't usually have 4%. Extra. So that's nearly a 12% unemployment rate for men 25 to 34, like prime working age. So that's tough. So this man, his name was, I feel like I'm going to mispronounce it, Padraig Fournier. He's like a French last name, Padraig. Anyway. He's in San Mateo. His interests are video games. He loves Oblivion. He's played it for years. He's played it for thousands of hours. And so he has a lot to say about the gaming community. I won't spend a great deal of time. But he says it has a great cultural impact on men's view of masculinity. Now, one is, from the point of view of the video game, you're out there smearing people, I guess. That would give you a certain view. Although I've played video games and I don't know. So I've played like minutes of a video game. I tire very quickly. What? You like Mario Kart. I know, Brian. Okay, so the average daily time spent alone by men is 6.6 hours, and by women it's 5.4 hours. Men spend more than an hour more, almost an hour and a half more every day alone. This was from a survey done in 2023 by the Pew Research Group. And then this man, Padraig, actually points out that many online spaces have a strong right-wing presence, and he says that he doesn't see left-wing presence on these channels. His examples are the Star Wars Theory YouTube channel. I guess it's right wing. That's so weird because I always considered Star Wars so egalitarian and diverse and let the force be with you. And it really looked at this kind of a positive force about saving humanity. And I don't know.
Are you a gamer, Kyle?
I am a gamer.
Okay.
I played a lot. Still play here and there, but...
Do you play Oblivion?
I did play Oblivion for a little bit. It's an alright game.
So just all right.
It's an all right. The predecessor, the one that came after it, called Skyrim. That's the better Elder Scrolls game. It's within the Elder Scrolls series. So yeah, I do know my video games. So
okay.
Well, I once had to do psychological testing for this game show that was back years ago, and it was all these top gamers, and they wanted them evaluated if they were okay to be on TV. So we did psychological testing, but we also did a test with them to see if they really were gamers. Yeah. So we would give them a list of games, what's true and what isn't. And I mean, these people knew. They're like, that isn't a game. That isn't a game. This is a game. This is a game. They all seemed to know. It was really funny. But the thing I loved most about gamers, these top gamers, these people that were the absolute top of their game, this was for a TV show, so it was like a competition. What I loved about them is almost to a person of all the people I interviewed, they were the most wonderful kids. I was really impressed. I'm like, these guys are great. I was really I know.
So if they can't play video games, they're like the bad ones?
I guess so. That must be me.
Well, that's why I asked how. I was like, you seem like a normal guy,
It turned out all right.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. Most video game people.
And I used to play competitively for money.
So
when I was younger.
So you were a cool kid too.
You were on top then, right?
No, not really. I mean, I was playing for money on a team, but I was playing against the best people out there at the time on this game. So
you were on top.
A little bit.
See?
So anyway, he talks about this narrative that is present in all of these online gaming rooms and whatnot, that the things I like are under attack. I guess that's true in the video game, but it's also, he said, true when they talk about life in these types of channels. He actually had a quote that he quoted. He said, I don't know where this comes from, which I thought was very astute. He says, when you're accustomed to privilege, equality looks like an attack. And this kind of interested me because that does explain that people are feeling more under attack. And I think when I was a kid, we were not told that we had value. You're a kid and you were to be seen and not heard, and you should be grateful for the, sounds familiar, doesn't it, from the White House meeting. You should be grateful for whatever I've given you, and you've got to constantly say thank you, and I'm going to punish you for not being grateful enough, and you never were grateful enough.
That's crazy.
I know. That's the world I grew up in. But what's interesting about that world you grew up in is you didn't go along thinking that you deserved everything. And now I think, this like this guy in his quote, when you're accustomed to privilege, everything looks like an attack. I think a lot of people, I don't think maybe you two, but I think a lot of people think that they deserve better. Like they deserve extra. They deserve to get into schools or into easy jobs. I know someone in my life who, really fits into this, lives at home, doesn't really work, and doesn't really, is young and doesn't really have plans to go about work in a normal fashion, just wants to make a great deal of money.
Are they Republican? Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. I was going to add to it, but I was kind of in the same kind of boat, a few years back, after high school, kind of, was in a gray area when I was working and stuff, I traveled a little bit, but I was kind of in a gray area for a year where I was not working. I wasn't doing anything. But kind of, I found my way, went back to school, transferred from community college. It took me time. I'm a late bloomer. If you can, that's the word, I guess.
Well, you're 22. You're not that late.
I'm 25.
Oh, you're 25.
Yeah, 25. Yeah.
Well, then you're still young.
Still young.
25 is a good age, though. I consider that a pivot age.
It's a good age.
I consider that the age that you start to mature. Like it's.
I'd say so. I feel like
you feel different about the world.
I feel different. Like I hit 25 and it's like my brain's different.
Yeah. And then, then there's 30 and it's all downhill after that. So enjoy these 5 years.
No, 30s are good.
They're good?
Yeah.
Okay.
The dirty 30s, I guess. Okay, so so he's talking about the manosphere this kid is, and he said he's basically saying that the online ecosystem makes it easy for men to feel victimized, and there's an appeal to anti-woman narratives in moments of vulnerability. Like it's okay to put down women. And then that's when they start to feel resentment, and that's when they want to go to the easiest explanation. It's because they think they're better than me and I need to just take what is mine, et cetera, et cetera. He wasn't this kid, but that was his observation being in that world. So I found him very, very interesting. He was like a kind of a social scientist at the age of, I think he was 22 actually. I think someone's 22.
Nice.
Yeah. And then he said the pipeline is ready and waiting. So what do we say? What's up? I mean, it's like the world is having a tough time.
Well, how do you expect women to like you or want to go after you if you spend all your time gaming in your parents' home without?
I definitely agree. If you're not making some type of revenue off, that kind of hobby, I guess, and it's kind of taking a toll. I definitely agree.
Yeah, and women have done there's no women even in that space really for you to be mad at.
There are women, but it's
very few because of how it is.
Yeah.
I have it easy because I have a girlfriend that likes playing video games with me. So
See, yes. So you're one of the special ones, you know?
Yeah, I got lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle, you got it going on. This is great.
It's because he was good. He was a good gamer.
I was.
I mean, we could go on and talk about this. It probably is, you know, I don't want to go too much more into the manfluencer content, but we're starting to go down this road in society that really concerns me. Not because if men want to be like, hey, I'm a He-Man, you know, He-Man, women haters. What is it? He-Man Woman Haters Club? That was from the Little Rascals. The He-Man Woman Haters Club. They were all these little boys in it. And then they all were hopelessly in love with girls, of course, but they wanted to hate them, you know, so that they could have some strength together and as a group. But always Darla would come and just, you know, you guys have no idea what I'm talking about.
I do know what you're talking
about. Oh, okay. Darla was the little hussy. She was maybe 4 years old, 5. She'd come along and she'd talk like Mae West, and boy, that would be it. She was amazing. Oh, and then you're thinking of Buckwheat with the hair sticking straight up. Yeah, he was in love with Darla. Yes. So anyway, so I mean, this has been here with us for a long time. It's not like we don't have it, but what's interesting is it's happening with adults. Usually when we're young or when we're adolescents, we see the world in a much more black and white way, in a much more simplistic way. But as we grow up, we grow out of that and see the world in a much more complex way. But it sounds like a lot of people are getting arrested on what is being a man, and thinking it really fits into just these bifurcated categories of what you should and shouldn't be versus what is.
And do you think that's like due to like education levels going down everywhere?
I don't know. I don't want to make that leap.
Yeah,
I do think education, though, helps you think in a much more critical way, where you look at things, and it helps you think in a much more complex way. When we are lack of education or lack of intelligence, we can often break things down to its simplest elements and go with the easiest explanation. So that may play a role, education, but intelligence may play a bigger role. But I do think it's interesting about gender, because we talked about divorce in a previous show, and like the highest divorce rates, and I did not bring this up in the show because I didn't want to talk about politics, but the highest divorce rates are in red states. And I just find that very interesting. So it's where people, I mean, if you match that up with people seeing the world in a much more black and white way, things that are black and white, things that are brittle, break easier. When you have more flexibility, you can hang. We do know better educated people stay together longer. Monique said it was because they had a lot to lose. But maybe that's the reason.
But I think you're right, though. With more education and intelligence, you can figure out how to navigate together instead of just being like, this isn't working.
That's right. Well, we have so much we could continue to talk about this, and maybe we'll come back to it another time. This is certainly a topic we barely scratched the surface of. How was this for you, Kyle?
It felt like a very positive, informative conversation. I kind of learned a little bit more about myself, talking about masculinity and what I think about it.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool that if people are truly themselves, that comes off as strength. Yeah. People need to realize the more you are you without taking directions from somebody on the internet that you don't even know, you shine more.
Thank you for saying that. I think that is an excellent point.
And I just wanted to add on top of that, I just feel like, what's the saying? I feel like I'm less of an actor now. I've grown up. I feel like throughout your life, you're kind of playing the
play a role.
You're playing the role. I feel like I'm kind of breaking out of that, and I'm not acting anymore. I'm becoming my true self.
You're being.
I'm being. Yeah.
And it feels good when you're just being you without having this pressure or I'm not acting a certain way enough,
Yeah. for sure.
Right. I truly believe that the most masculine isn't telling other people how to act, isn't giving lectures about how to be masculine.
And it's very submissive
Although
for the guys that
here?
are like taking all that direction from like the manfluencers. It's very submissive of them
absolutely.
to submit to what another random man is telling them to look.
It's very passive.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. It is submissive.
It's so submissive.
Yeah.
It's
Instead of just being yourself,
housewife, and your husband is telling you how to behave and act and do. So if you guys can hear this, I would think twice of how you're doing it.
Think twice. Cut once. Okay, that wraps up the show for today. Reminder to like, subscribe, and to give us 5 stars. Please do. Links to the studies. Well, we do have several studies on this one. You can go, and there's some Pew Research stuff that's very interesting if you want a little more in-depth view. Go to youtube.com/DrGreg. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to discover, hit us up at Ask Dr. Greg. Brian will be monitoring that. Thank you, Brian. This is Dr. Greg, Brian, and also Kyle. Thank you, Kyle, for your participation. Bidding you farewell. Until next time, be present, be flexible, and be kind.